We'll make note that council members Casperson and Henderson are attending remotely, so they're watching the meeting from home today, as neither of them are feeling well. But today is January 2nd. We're here at the Washington City Hall in the council chambers for this special meeting. It's a short agenda, council. You see the agenda in front of you. I'll call for a motion to approve it as outlined.
I'll make a motion we approve the agenda as outlined.
Have a motion by Councilman Coates. Second by Councilman Belliston. You're in the playbook now. Congratulations. We got.
I think I remember how this is done.
You're doing great. So far, so good. So 2 agenda items today this is something we started 2 years ago, and but first we got to vote on that. I seem like the rookie now, huh? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. 2 items. The first is something we started about 2 years ago. This was a department head overview, and it was an opportunity for each of the department heads and kind of executive staff to be in front of the council and to share just kind of a brief overview of their department, and then just some relevant updates. So I felt like that would be beneficial for all of us to do that again today. I do have the batting order. It's a 15-person lineup. We've allocated about 3 minutes for each of you. If you go over a little bit, that's okay. If you go over too far, I'll push the button that opens the trap door. You'll find yourself somewhere in the basement amongst those archives and things down there. So I wouldn't risk it if I were you. Council, after the update, if you have a few brief comments or questions, we'll stay on a real high level today. And if something comes up where we want to do a deeper dive later, we can do that. But so let's just move right into first item of the business is department head update and overview. Leadoff batter is Jeremy Red. It's important you get on base.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 years ago when I did this, I was on vacation in Dominican Republic. Some of you remember I made a video with the beach in the background. I should have just replayed the video. It would have been a lot better today. But thank you. I'm trying to answer the question that everybody asks that nobody ever knows the answer to, is what does a city manager do? And we'll try to figure that out by the end. The best thing I get to do is I get to hang out with all of these wonderful people. Very best part of my job, and I'm glad you're going to get to hear from a bunch of them today. Some of these slides are big and some of them are small. I'm getting to where I can't read the small stuff, but we'll see. I'll try to explain what I do. First of all, I think most of you are aware the city manager is appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. I've been the city manager for Washington now 3 years, and been a city manager 11, something like that in all of my time. And then recognizing the city manager is the one position in Washington that must live in the city during the term of employment. I think you're aware of that. That came up a time or two. This is where I have a hard time reading it, but the mayor will help me out if I run into small print here. I just wanted to go over just the things that are in ordinance. A city manager does a lot of things that aren't in ordinance, but these are the things that by code the city has tasked me to do. So the city manager shall be the administrative head of the government. So I'm responsible to basically administer the affairs of the city under the direction and guidance of the mayor and city council. Law enforcement, and that doesn't mean I get police powers. Chief Williams reminds me of this all the time. I can't arrest people. I don't get to put anybody in jail. But you as the elected body create the laws and ordinances of the city, and it's my job to enforce them, and I do that through the staff members of the city. And then I have number 3, authority over the employees. So, order, give directions through the department heads to the city employees. And along with that comes the power of appointment and removal. So hiring, firing, moving people around in their various departments, except for 3 that the city council have retained control over, and that's the city recorder, the city treasurer, and the city attorney. So those you appoint yourselves, and I don't hire or fire those 3 positions. Not that we would want to do any of that on any of those. We talked a little bit about administrative reorganization of offices, and some of that happens from time to time, but the various departments. We add positions, we subtract positions, we change things around, and that happens in the interest of efficient, effective, and economical conduct of the city's business. So we're always trying to make things better for our residents, make things more efficient. Number 6, I recommend ordinances or resolutions to the city that we think are necessary to keep the city operating in an efficient manner. 7, I come to city council meetings. One of these days I'm going to miss one. I haven't missed one yet in 3 years, except for the one that was 2 years ago when I was on vacation. Except when my removal is under consideration. So if you ever don't invite me to a meeting, I'll know what you're here to talk about, and that's okay. I'd rather not be there. Financially, it's the duty of the city manager to keep you as the mayor and city council advised as the condition and the needs of the city arise financially. And then something, number 9, that I take very seriously, it's the duty of the city manager to prepare and submit the proposed annual budget and the proposed annual salary plan. So Brian and I and the department heads will start working on that right away. We've started that process already. That starts in January, and we'll have a new budget to you by March typically, and then you'll approve it by May, and it starts in July. So that process, we're always either making a budget, amending a budget, in the middle of a budget. Expenditure control and purchasing, we want to make sure that all the finances and the spending of the city are in accordance with the rules and the budget that you spend. So we make sure that everything in that way is going good. Investigations and complaints. We don't have to do too much of this, but any complaints that come in, and I think many of you will attest, there's a decent amount that come through, and we deal with those, and we give people information and help them understand how things are run in the city. It's the duty of the manager to exercise general supervision over the public buildings, the parks, and the other property which the city owns. And then, of course, 13, any additional duties that you delegate or give to me from time to time by ordinance or resolution, or any other act of the mayor and city council, which come quite often. So that's the code that authorizes the position of city manager. I just want to go through really quickly the vision statement and the mission statement of the city. I think it's still appropriate and important, and I think encapsulates what we try to do. Washington City is dedicated to being the city of choice, and the mayor talked about that a little bit when you were installed today. We want to be the city that people want to live, that they want to work in, that they want to bring their business to. We build upon the foundation of our traditional pioneering spirit and strive to enhance the quality of life while providing the most reliable, innovative, efficient, and courteous service. And we go back to that from time to time when we make decisions. We want to be the city of choice, so we make decisions for that. But reliable, innovative, efficient, and courteous. I like those words in that mission statement. And then our vision to be a model city recognized as an innovative, empowering, high-quality city. So as we try to make decisions and we do all the things that we're trying to do, and all the things you'll hear from where the department heads who actually do the work are going to talk to you about, this is what we're trying to do when we look at those things. This is last year's 2022 management report. We're working on another report that'll come out March or April for 2023. But these are some of the accomplishments and goals and some of the things that we track to make sure we're meeting that vision and meeting the needs of the city council and the staff. And then you're going to hear from the different members of our team. And like I said, I'm really proud of the team that we have put together here. We have a lot of stability. We have a lot of department heads who have been here a long time. And we have some new faces that are doing a great job and fitting in really well. So this is the list. I won't go through it, but you're going to get to know them. Any questions about, does this answer what a city manager does? Mostly I sit in meetings, mostly I talk. Try to be a good face for the city and make you look good. Any questions?
I don't know that I have a question, but well, let me ask you, just as far as what you see trending locally, nationally, what you're seeing with, budgets and tax income and tax rolls, just what are you seeing as far as trends, as far as what we can tend to possibly expect for 2024? Just a good general synopsis of that.
Yeah. I think we're city-wise for Washington City, I think we're in a good position. Our residents have a high standard. I've talked about this a lot. They have a high standard, and you see that in the way that they interact with us and their expectations. They expect a lot from their government. And we've been able to provide that. And I think we want to continue to provide that. We've been fortunate that we continue to add new residents and we continue to add new businesses, and that adds to our coffers to be able to continue to supply that high level of service. Going forward, probably my biggest concern is just that we are able to continue to provide what our residents want. I know that increasing taxes is a really unpopular thing, but somehow you have to be able to provide those services that people are demanding and that they expect. We expect to be able to do that through additional sales tax and additional property tax that come from growth and development. And I hope we can still continue to do that. But that's my biggest concern as we go forward. How do we continue to provide the level of service that our residents demand and expect and are used to without additional tax burdens? So we'll continue to try to do that.
Question, comment for the manager?
Okay.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate all you do. In the 2 slot, City Attorney Thad Sigmiller. He's no stranger to baseball.
Thank you, Mayor. I am a stranger to the 2 spot, though.
Where did you bat?
Yeah, 5 or 6, who knows? Somewhere down
Heart of the lineup.
So the last couple of years, I've coached softball and learned how critical the bunt is. And I just realized I needed to know how to bunt better, because maybe that would have got me up there. I'm grateful to be the Washington City Attorney, Mayor and Council. The first slide, I just focus on the fact that I recognize that I'm here because I've been appointed by the mayor and consented to by the council. View that as my primary role. The reality is it's also my most busy role. We've got weekly meetings. We've got a lot of daily, hourly, and weekly things that relate to my role with the mayor and council, which I enjoy. And I hope that you find that I'm a voice of balance, but also a voice of just lawful reason as we work through things together to do our best for Washington City. And so I appreciate your confidence in me. Washington City Attorney's Office has a mission statement. I like to provide that just so that you can see that we're trying to cover a lot through this office. We give initial legal counsel to the city's appointed and acting bodies, the City Council and the Planning Commission. I work very frequently with the mayor and the manager, giving them legal advice as they're dealing with the various things within their roles. On a daily basis, I have other departments reach out to me and ask for legal advice. And it's things like a grandma request that the police department received, a bankruptcy notice that the city treasurer received, an audit letter needed by the finance department. Those are the 3 that I had just recently, just the last week. And so frequently interacting with the departments as they have legal needs come up. We also manage a lot of responsibilities. We deal with the ordinances, their reviews and their rewrites. We write with your resolutions and your contracts and your policies and your procedures. And then another thing that happens quite a bit is legal claims and legal threats and kind of disputes that come up. And so thankfully I chose to go to law school, and I did it for 15 years before this job, and I enjoy a really diverse and a really active profession. And so I'm grateful to be able to do it here for Washington City, and our mission statement reflects that. My position, like the city managers, like your positions, have city code and statutory provisions that guide what I'm supposed to do and what I'm allowed to do. So I highlight those, but there's nothing new to be presenting there. What questions might you have for me within my allotted time?
So that I see what you do. You do a lot for us. And my question is, it's more of a statement, is that I feel like for a while we might need some more help in that department. I know you're kind of like a one-man band kind of does. I know you have help, but I'm just asking you to speak up sooner than later, so we're not behind the game when that time comes and we need to look at expanding that department.
So with personnel, you're absolutely right. I was just going to argue we might be behind the game, but with personnel, there's always the balance of, do we hire too much too soon and then grow into it, or do we stretch until we just reflex that onto the new hire? I think we're right at that time that we need to have that conversation.
Okay, and that's something I just want to have the conversation moving forward. What makes sense as far as that department and what we can do.
Right now, when my department has a bad day, I just go down to Shoney's or somewhere, get me a lunch and a shake and cheer them up, and we get back to work. So that was an old reference.
Yes. it was.
That's a really old
Or
reference.
the pie was really good
That's
there.
right.
I recommend apple. Councilman Ivey, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna say, I appreciate that line of thinking. You know, we want to stretch it into a double, right? And I like that because I think that keeps us honest in what we're trying to do, you know, protecting citizens' funds, things like that. So, no, I have a great deal of confidence in what you do for the city. I know when you give advice or information that we can count on it. And I have a level of comfort in knowing that you're giving that information out. So I appreciate what you do for the city.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, you can send a guy to law school and get the training, but how do you beat the training of growing up right here and then raising your family here too in Washington? Thad, we appreciate that you would choose to work and really for you, I think it's the service here. And we appreciate that continuity you have from your elected positions and your role as a judge. We recognize that we often give you more to do than anybody should be expected. So, and honestly, that could go for a lot of your departments and manager. I feel like for a softball fan like Ruth Holyoke, we should have some walk-up music, but we didn't cue that up, Steve. So you're just going to have to, if you can hum something, Ruth, as you. Well, the fourth spot is the cleanup batter. But Coach, what's the three spot?
She's the setup.
You're the setup.
There we go. I get them loaded on base.
There,
right?
there you go. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can read that.
And pull that mic down just a little bit. There you go.
All right. So I'll cut this in half because mine's a little lengthy. So what does HR do? Our number one goal is to contribute to the growth in the organization. In depth a little bit more. What our department does, we're responsible for managing the employee's life cycle while employed. Recruiting positions, screening applications, conducting the interviews, hiring, onboarding, terminating, performance reviews. We also conduct the annual trainings. We make sure that the policy and procedures are followed and upheld and that we're in compliance with legal and internal policies. And we manage employee relations. It's important that we strengthen the employee-employer relations and measure job satisfaction with all of our employees and make sure that there's engagement and try and work through the work conflicts as we go. So if you asked anyone, what does HR do? We hire and fire. That's the number one thing they're going to tell you. All we do is hire and fire, but we really do a lot more than just hiring and firing. I won't read through all of this, but we do recruit candidates, screening the applications, making sure that we get quality. Hiring the right employees is very important. We don't want to hire to fire. So we take our time, do our due diligence, make sure that we get the right people on board. If we haven't got the right people on board, we're not going to waste time with molding something that's not moldable. We maintain our employee records. We do that for a lot of reasons. People will say, why are we documenting, filling out another form? There's a lot of reasons we do that. And it supports promotions. So if there's somebody coming up that's applying for another job and we can see that they've had great reviews and have done a great job and they're eligible, we can do the internal promotions. It also helps in the firing process. If we have good documentations, we have no reason to need to have Thad be thoroughly involved when we've got the documentations to support. He can give us his stamp and we're good to go. And then updating the handbook policies. That's something that we recently did, and every few years we need to make sure that we're in compliance and that you as the policymakers have given us the guidance and direction of what you want to see updated in the handbook, and then we make those things happen. Conducting disciplinary actions. This is something that we work really closely with the supervisors on to train their supervisors on. That, again, that documentation is very, very needed when there's disciplinary actions, and benefit analysis. So each year, as we start the budget process, we go out and we conduct our analysis on where we sit with compensation out there with the market and comparisons. We also want to look at our healthcare benefits and make sure that we're offering the best insurance that we can at the best rates that we can get as well. And we do those every single year. Currently, we have 550 employees. There's 211 full-time employees and 339 part-time. I would say 325 of those are Barry's part-time employees.
But who's counting?
That's right, that's right. Let's see. So some of the things that we do that is supporting with employees is we like to provide career growth. We have a lot of good employees. A lot of times they'll take positions to get their foot in the door, and there's so many skills that we're not utilizing. So we like to be able to provide that career path or to offer some kind of educational trainings to benefit the department and make it a more rich department. We do that through our continuing education program, ongoing trainings to help support our supervisors become managers, and then supporting our health and wellness. We do ongoing Healthy Utah as well. When you should contact the HR department, you'll contact us when you're onboarding. That's a given. You'll come over, you'll do your paperwork. Anytime you have a change in paperwork, if you're having babies, divorces, marriages, you'll come and visit us on all of the above. Anytime you feel like you've had any kind of harassment or you've seen harassment within your department or just in general, we like to have those things reported to us so that we can address those and correct the behaviors and take care of the problems that we're having. Your FMLAs, anytime you have a leave of absence that's needed, there's again documentation and documentation. So other than that, in a nutshell, that's what the HR department does.
Ruth, you deal with a lot of hard things at times, but also I've noticed that often sometimes people need to talk, and they come over to your office and you just talk them through life and all the things that affects their life with their employment.
We do offer therapy.
Well, that
Quite
too,
often
but yeah,
there is
often you wear that therapist hat.
We do.
You do a wonderful job.
And you know, a lot of employees just do need to vent, and they just feel they need somewhere to go to just get it off their chest. They come and do that. And
Yeah.
a lot of times I feel like I've not said anything or done anything, but I've listened, and they feel good when they walk out the door. And sometimes just offering, in my situation, this is what I would do, or try this or try that. It seems to help employees get through whatever. A lot of us just have bad days sometimes, and so it helps to have someone to talk to. And
Well,
we're
it's
always
a
good to
real
be there
talent,
for that.
and you make a difference. Council, any questions, comments for Ruth?
Ruth, I just have one question regarding, like on a typical posting in any of our departments, are you seeing applicants that are the numbers that we'd like to see? And are we getting the
are.
quality of the applicants
We
that
have
you would
been.
like?
We always have one or two positions that are really unique and have to have a specific criteria. And those tend to be a little bit more difficult to fill. But for the most part, we're getting 20 to 30 applicants that, like our public works, when we're asking for CDLs, a lot of them have that coming on board, which we used to didn't have. It used to be that we would have to go out and put them through getting their CDLs, and now we can just pick them up already certified. So we are getting good quality. I think a lot of it has to do with the new online applicant process, the Applicant Pro. That's attracted quite a few people because it goes out and hits all of your online applications, like your Indeeds, and those are spotlighting us as well. So we haven't had any problems. Our police and fire department we get more applicants than we would ever want to see, but it's good to have quite a selection of what we want to choose from too.
I'm happy that that's rebounded.
Yeah.
We also always like to support building from within when we can. Sometimes you can't, but I like that. I think that builds a good culture. So
I think that helps the employees also know that there's a stepping stone, that you do have to put the work in to move to the next step. And if they're willing to do that, then, internally is a good way to go. But we also like to see what we have on the outside as well as our inside, and then take the very best applicant from there.
Well done. Keep it up.
Thanks.
Cleanup batter. City Recorder Tara Pence. No pressure. It's the big bat.
You know what? Can I just ask Ruth a quick question?
Sure.
So
Come on back up.
Sorry,
Ruth.
I didn't.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I was going to say something and then you jumped in, and I'm trying to listen. And so if I don't speak up, when people are, I'm sorry, but I appreciate it. It's good for me to get a refresher, right? When you mentioned the continuing education, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So a lot of times, we've had some come in and say, can I take a pottery class? And no, that's not acceptable. So
Right.
if it's related to their position, if you've got somebody that is a police officer and they're working their way up to sergeant and they want to get that management skill, they can take management courses. Or you have just even in public works, you've got coworkers that are out in the field and they're great at the work that they do, but they're not great at working with people. And so a lot of times they'll take some classes at the college in business management, budgeting. So we've got one right now that's taking his like a finance class on budgets. And
So it pretty
I'm
much
doing an
just,
HR
I mean,
class
it's kind of at their leisure of whether it's an online course or college course or
we
something
do
like
have a
that.
criteria, so they has to be an accredited college unless it meets our criteria. And then they have to uphold to a certain grade. And then there's reimbursements if they fulfill that.
Is that
and-
one of the metrics that plays into pay increases annually?
No, that has nothing to do with it all. This is just self-help of the employee. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to promote or move into another position, but it shows us that they're preparing themselves for those higher up positions and that they've done their due diligence instead of just said, I applied for the job and I should have got it. We can see that they've taken the appropriate steps needed and that they're now a competitive applicant for that position.
I asked only from the simple fact that when I was in the military, probably 30%, 40% of my promotion was based on continuing education or, getting college and things like that. So it's quite a motivator when it comes to the bottom line, which you always want to see your staff and your people to educate themselves and motivate them to do so. So maybe it's something we can look at in the future. But thank you.
Good comments. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, Tara, Forest Lot.
Quick. All right. I'm sad that Councilmember Henderson isn't here because he would have appreciated my shiplap.
Yes, he was.
He always says shiplap. Okay. So in December of 2022, you guys all know we adopted our new business license code. So our number of business licenses for 2023 did go down slightly based on the out of area licenses that we now
Reciprocal.
honor. Yep. And it's been wonderful. Everyone's been so happy about it. And they were non-pay licenses anyway. So it's actually been better for our department. Grammar requests, all grammar requests go through our office. Anybody that wants any information outside of the city, aside from the police department. So we've had 190 grammar requests in 2023, and we did get our application online, which has been wonderful. We can go through the process, send it to other departments, and get everything sent out that way. I am also your election official, which you guys are all aware of. So every other year when we have an election, I'll accept the candidates' applications. I do your financial statements, the noticing, working with the county, canvassing, and then your oath of offices. This is not working. There we go. I am also over the risk management insurance portion. So we insure all of the city's properties and their vehicles, and the city claims for those things also come through our office. So we collect those if there's an accident or any damages to vehicles. We send them through our insurance and process them that way and keep track and collect the money. We adopted our retention schedule in June, and we are over all of the digitization and records for the city. So this year we have completed the planning and zoning department. They have no paper anymore in their office and everything's in our permanent retention schedule. The way we've set up our retention schedule is through the drive. So anyone who needs access to that in the building can have, anyone in the city can have access to that and view. And it's made our grammar requests so much quicker. Our response time can sometimes be like within hours. We're getting information back to people, and we're making everything that we can put on our website available there as well. We're currently working on Public Works, so that's going to be an ongoing project, maybe 5 years. I don't know. I'm hopeful 5 years. I'd like to thank Steve for my six-armed person. I'm also the liaison to the mayor and council. So we do your noticing packets, minutes, posting to the state, and keeping your meetings on track, hopefully. And that is all that I have. I was quick. Do you have any questions? I feel
Council?
like you guys work with me enough that you already know everything that I do, so.
No question, but a comment, Mayor, if that's all right. Please. So I just want to applaud you on the business license code. It was forward thinking. It was innovative. It definitely addresses what our goal is in building commercial development to help offset the need for raising taxes. And I love that creativity. Encourage all departments to kind of follow suit, find a way to be more creative, to be more, to streamline processes and make it better for the city. I love that.
Thank you. We're trying to be as forward thinking as we can in our office, eliminate all paper if possible. Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
All right, score is 4-0. Way to do your job, recorder. It's a new addition to the lineup this year, city treasurer and also utility billing manager, Brittany McClellan.
Yeah. I was
Welcome.
appointed almost a year ago, so this is my first time up here. Sorry if I stutter. So the treasurer's office is in charge of all the revenue that comes into the city. So I do daily deposits from the golf course, the utility office, and the community center. I also account for the sales tax, property tax, and other permits. So basically, if money comes into the city, it's gone across my desk at some point. I also oversee our credit cards. So if someone has fraud, needs a new card, wants to check their balance, they can do that through me. I'm also work with a third party for our investments. It's Morton Capital. And at the end of November, we did have a little over 59,000 in investments at this time.
Million.
Yeah, $1,000,000.
And growing.
And extra
That's doing really well, by the way. The latter approach and the way that you've kept that going is impressive.
Yeah, it's been working out pretty good so far. We're kind of in a spending, so it's gone down some, but the interest rates and stuff are still doing pretty good for us. And then I am also over the utility department. We have Ninfa, who is our billing technician, and then 2 front desk agents who are Tammy and Tanya, and a part-time. So we run the utility office off of 3 people, basically 3.5 people. They're in charge of anything related to your utility accounts. So setting up accounts, disconnecting accounts, issuing the bills, late fees, shut-off notices. They also take the cash and check payments for the recorder's office, permits, cemetery, anything money related they take. So frequently I call us the receptionists of the city. If someone doesn't know exactly what they're looking for, they'll call our office. So our office needs to know a little bit of everything to get the person to the right department. That's what we do.
Questions or comments for Brittany?
On those investment accounts, do you have those broken out by fund?
Not by fund, but impact fee versus non-impact fee.
Okay.
And Brian in the finance department takes care of a lot of
Brian
the
keeps it straight.
straightness of it. Yes.
What are some trends that you're seeing in the markets?
It's holding pretty steady right now. Actually, we're still over 5% for PTIF and even new investments are still 3.5 or more, depending on how far out you go. The brokers have had conversations about like more long-term planning right now because they are afraid that it is going to start going back down.
So inflation's kind of settling in. In
It
some
seems like it.
cases, it's drawing back a little bit.
Mhm.
That means that interest rates will likely follow. What will be the impact on that for the year? As
Well,
far
because
as
we
what you
have
can
it
see?
laddered, we're
Mhm.
pretty comfortable right now. Like, we're not overly worried at this time. And Jeremy works with me really close on making sure that things are staggered so that if a recession does hit, it hopefully won't impact us as hard as it can others.
So I have good reason to be optimistic.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Brittany. So one of the questions I had, and it came up through the election, where it has to do with, in half the city, we get power and water billed, and the other half is just water and all the other utilities. But everyone says my power bill's too high, but it's literally both, all of it when it's broken down. It's more of just a statement. I would like us to look at a different way of maybe showing it different to help show that, hey, there's your power, here's your water, here's your other utilities. Because they always try to lump them into power. And then we're always saying, well, it's not just your, like, it took me meeting with a lady and sitting down and going, well, it's more,
Mhm.
you know, and kind of help explain that. And I'm happy to do that. But if we can do that to everybody and help them explain the bill a little better.
The bills do break it out. I just don't think people look closely, and power is the top line.
And there
So
might
they
not
see
be, I'm just saying, when I first looked at it,
Mhm.
it's just, we just need to, I'm just looking
We-
for some conversation to start, like, hey, are we to where it is good? Or if it's not, then let's relook at it, is all I'm saying. Because
Mhm.
it might be fine, but when I look at it, it seems like it is clear if you dive into it, but maybe we can do some bulleting stuff to try to,
We do have a new statement that I'm hopefully going to have in February that will start going out to customers. And I think it'll help clarify that a little bit better, like show how much is just your base fees, how much is just your water, how much is just your power. So hopefully the new statement will be a little more user-friendly.
yes.
That's good feedback.
Thank you.
On a much less serious note, what day are the potlucks again?
Shut off day.
Shut off
The
day.
second Wednesday of the month.
And then mayor and council are invited if we,
Always.
but we have to knock because our keys don't work to your office. Okay.
Very few.
Shut
keys are
off
covered.
day, potluck. You won't turn us away.
What can the mayor bring?
Oh, I was just
We
going
should
to
make him
bring
bring more.
myself.
I was gonna say, potluck, you have to bring something. No, you can bring yourself. You're always welcome.
And then the other thing I just like for everyone to know, like from as I understand, Washington City is the only city in the state to have 100% AMI smart meters on residential units, which is really cool. Thanks for all you're doing with that data on water, and also with kind of the leak detection. And we're kind of working through a lot of things. I was up at a conference and they actually know you in your office by name when I told them I was the mayor of Washington City. So you're doing something right there with and helping us lead out on using that data to better manage our most precious resource in the desert. So
It's been a wonderful addition. It's nice to be able to have something you can print out for the customer and say, you know,
Yeah.
here's your water usage. This is what's going on.
and
with
keep
your property.
referring them to that video to help them download that app and just kind of teach them to fish and how to, read their statements. That's a lot of work. I know. Any other comments for the utility office, treasurer? Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
Okay, Jordan Hess, Legislative Affairs. Good to see you walking again without crutches or wheels or anything.
No longer hop along Hess. I am right over here in the fun hallway with Rusty. We're a good duo over there. My position is fairly new, going on just 2 years, but it's been a lot of fun and a lot of work in these past 2 years. Primarily, I'm a relationship builder and advocate. So I build and maintain strong relationships with our neighboring cities, the county, the state legislature, our federal delegation as well. And I am proud to say that Washington City does have great relationships with our partnering bodies of government and agencies up and down the state and even back in Washington, D.C. Our city is highly respected, especially here locally in Washington County. I also advise on the city's lobbying and legislative advocacy efforts. So I'm at the Capitol a lot. It's a new thing for Washington City to have someone up there, and we saw great rewards last year. I was instrumental in getting the mayor in front of the Infrastructure Appropriations Committee, scored $2.5 million for an infrastructure project for the city. I helped with our Parks Department get a $1 million grant for the Wills Park that's going in. And then I track state and federal legislation, analyze how that legislation might impact our city, and then get involved on whether or not we need to change the legislation, amend it, kill the bill, or help a bill pass. And last year was able to actually prevent legislation from going through that would have harmed our police department, and advocated for bills that ended up helping our city, but always with an eye on making sure that our city maintains its authority to operate and there isn't too much intrusion at both the state and the federal level. So that's one part of my job. Second part of my job is communication and public affairs. So I'm the city spokesman. I issue a lot of press releases, media advisories, draft a lot of speeches, ordinance, proclamations, resolutions, etc. It's a lot of fun. I work closely with our information systems department as well in getting content out to our residents so they know what's happening in the city, and make sure that they are in the know on events taking place in our city as well. I plan and execute this state of the city, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, press conferences, etc. And then I'm also kind of the city's liaison to a lot of the civic organizations like the Chambers and Rotary and other organizations locally and at the state level. And the third leg on my stool, I provide research and legislative support for the mayor and council. So if any of you need research done or need help with an ordinance, that's what I'm here for. I work closely with Thad. He is the legal eyes and legal expertise on anything that I do. And then also, this is something new that we'll be starting this year, but at your retreat later this month, I'll help coordinate your annual mission, vision statement, kind of the council's goals for 2024. And then throughout the year, it'll be my job to help you stay focused on those priorities with constant check-ins, making sure that we're moving in the right direction and that we're all rowing in the same direction. But I've loved these past 2 years. It's been a lot of fun for me. And like I said, I feel like our city has great relationships and a lot of respect across the state.
Questions or comments for legislative affairs? You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Appreciate it.
Finance, Brian Brown. We saw you last meeting on the quarterly update.
All right, I'm grateful to work for Washington City. Every day is exciting in the finance department because I work with people like me that understand spreadsheets. And
Spreadsheets are your love language, I think we determined, didn't we?
We use them so much. But I work with a great team. Pepper, she's our senior accountant. Leanna, she's an accountant. Jessica is our payroll. She's busy doing payroll right now. So kind of just break off what we do. One of our main things we do is accounts payable. If you ever need to get a hold of accounts payable, the best way is like it's actually AP at washingtoncity.org, or accounts pay, just leave it AP. That's shorter, easier. The other thing we do is we process about 9,000 invoices a year. We cut checks twice a month, usually the week of payroll. It's always the week of payroll unless there's a special check run. And last year we did about 4,200 checks. The other thing we do is on your monthly board audit, we provide you with a monthly board audit, which includes all checks over $1,000 and all the credit card transactions. So that's kind of a brief summary of accounts payable. The next item we are involved heavily with is payroll. So Ruth kind of went over this, our full-time and part-time. Every 2 weeks we're doing payroll just because under deadlines, and getting payroll out for everyone is quite a task, and it involves working with all the different departments here in the city. The other item, Jeremy did mention this, is the budget. So we're actually starting the budget right now. We're in the budget process. It usually takes from January to last year. We did it about the end of May, but we have it till the end of June. And we use a system called ClearGov. So they can go put in the item description and the departments can go in and they make their request. So they'll, during this month, they're putting that information in and then they'll submit that to Jeremy and we'll meet with him like we have in the past. And the budget, like I said, is due June 30th. And here's a summary of this year's budget. That's tough to read. You can see the total budget and then breakdown revenues expense by fund. That is tough to read, but if you want,
I want to know why it's off by $1.
Rounding. The other item we're heavily involved is the audit, and this is due every year at the end of December. So and that usually is we start that in July, and usually the auditors come on site in October. Then we're working with them to finish it up through November and December. We do a yearly fraud risk assessment, and then we do some internal audits in the city. And some of the other stuff we do, all the financial stuff's on the website posted there on ClearGov. I think you can get through it through the website. Also, anything with finance, we have a website where you can go get. We list all our different request forms for travel. Everything is on there. The most exciting thing this year is we're finally leaving Springbrook. I've been here 13 years. We had Springbrook for 13 years, and it took a few years to select this, but we are going to Oracle. We're in the process of implementation, and we should go live in June, July. So that'll be a major change for the city. We're excited about it, but and as mentioned earlier, the quarterly reviews, we try to do them in November, February, May, and August, depending on how fast we close the books. Other items we deal with is every month we do have to do closing journal entries, and so that usually takes us about 10 to 15 days. So we try to close everything by the 15th of each month. So it's a busy process where we have somebody we have to make a bunch of journal entries and process the investments. We do track those and by fund, and every month we have to do a journal entry to track that and a bunch of other items. So that's pretty much summary of the finance department. Do you have any questions for me? Oh, that was easy.
Hey, Brian, I'll just say kudos to you and Jeremy and your staff for that transition to Oracle. I know that's a big deal. That's been something we've been talking about for 2 or 3 years now, or probably longer than that. But
yeah,
congratulations. That's a monumental
it's going to
task.
It'll be way different than the current software we have.
But long-term, much more efficient, better process for your department and the other departments.
Overall for the whole city.
Yeah.
Because it's IS approved with interfaces and everything.
Am I getting a nod back there, Steve? Okay.
We made sure to communicate with him, but it's able to communicate with API, the language. It can communicate with almost any system. So.
Well, thanks for being forward thinking and advancing on that. Good job. Speaking of Stephen Whittekind, IS, Information Services.
Yes, can you hear me okay? So I have had the privilege and the honor of working here for almost 20 years in September. And that's when the department started 20 years ago. I was very forward thinking on the council's part of the time to start an IT department, now IS, in that day and age at that population, but I'm hoping it's paid off. We do things that are usually in the background. Even if you walk into our office, it's in the background too. So, like everything we do is in the background, and no news is the best news we can get usually. The one exception is probably the website and the streaming we do for the council meetings and stuff. Over the years, we've taken pride in being effective and doing things a little bit different, mostly to reach cost goals, but also there's been some other benefits, including cybersecurity. We've always been a little ahead on that front. We also have always tried to make our users not to push the complication on the user, which where I came from, that's kind of how it was, and it's kind of nice to take that burden by us doing a little bit more so that they can be a little more comfortable in their day-to-day. Here's a list of some of the things we do. The last bullet is probably the only one you really have to remember, anything technology. But you've heard a lot of things from other departments already, and I can think of several that I've actually been involved in. It's been a good year. Currently, if you need tech support, that email address right there reaches all of us at once. So if I happen to be fishing, which is one of my main vacations.
I thought it was skiing.
Skiing's just a weekend thing. Fishing will take me out
Okay.
sometimes. And out of cell service. There actually is cell service in Bryan Head. So there's 4 of us full time, and that email will reach all of us. So if you need something with your iPad or have a question, that email address is a good one. Of course, I'm always there for you whenever you can ping me. We're also your experts. If you have anything technology come up that you need to ask about in your council, people talking about, changing the street names will cause X, so, stuff like that they've done in public meetings, you can always just come to us or even the GIS department and use us as experts. Also, one thing I'd like to point out here is that we pen test all levels of organization. I mean, we're testing you guys too. But I'll tell you what that's done is when we started, we did a benchmark and it came out to a 40%, meaning approximately 40% of the people here would have failed if someone tried to phish them. And now our number hovers under 7%. The highest it's been in the last year is 7%. So it's been very effective, at least according to the benchmark that we're.
But it's broader than that. I've now trained my family about fishing because all the times that you've set that bait, for me and so it spreads wider than the 500 and however 50 employees or whatever.
And the other good part is everybody has a good time with it.
Well, I actually took the hook a couple of weeks ago. Done a lot of self-reflection.
The 7%.
I thought I was so street smart, but I failed last week, but I'll do better, I promise.
I think we've all failed. I think they were trying to get me, and I think they may have almost got me one time. And they were pretending to be Microsoft, which is the funniest part about it. But going forward, we've outgrown our network topology, so we're actually last year and this year, we're trying to replace that underneath. Things that we'll gain from that, one of them being a Wi-Fi that we can give to guests that come visit, and other things like that, because we're not putting people on the business network at that point. It'll give us a lot more flexibility. Should get rid of all the issues we've been having for last year, including some in this room with Wi-Fi and things like that. We're also increasing our cybersecurity in ways that I will talk to you about if you want, but I won't talk about them on live YouTube. But it's going to take us to the next level. I still think we're in front of can't think of a sports. We're making the drive where I can't think of a sports. I'll just say we're ahead of the curve. There's a sports on cybersecurity still. I mean, it's hard to say that because there's some very creative people on the other side of the fence.
You're not swinging at junk.
There we go. So yeah, that's what we're concentrating on. There's a lot going on, working with the departments, going paperless every way, getting GIS on tablets in the field. We were involved with all of it. So those are just some of the key things that we're working on this year. Any questions, comments?
Good job, Steve.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Barry Blake, Leisure Services, a man that knows a thing or two about baseball and taking care of baseball fields.
All that fun stuff. I have
New
fun stuff.
scoreboards up there, new
Yeah.
lights, looking
And as
good.
Ru- And as Ruth said, we have employees. We have
Few.
a lot of the employees, which I love. I mean, that's, I've been here a long time, and that's one of the most rewarding things of the city is those relationships you have and you build and seeing what they do. They do so much. They're the ones that do the work, and I just appreciate that so much. I have two great assistants, Cole and Paul, and they're so supportive and do so much and take on so much, and so it's great that way. We like that. One of the reasons we have so many employees, there's 7 different divisions in leisure services. We have recreation, the community center, we have Green Spring Golf Course, we have all the parks, the cemetery, all the trails, and then all the maintenance of all the buildings and properties and everything that we have. So there's a lot that goes on. We do a lot of planning and have the events. A lot of the stuff that we have takes a lot of planning and the financial stuff, but I just want to go over the events that take place in Washington City. We have Christmas in Dixie, Veterans Day, Ironman Breakfast, Easter egg hunt. That's done with the Lions Club also. Cotton Days, the city races, Dogtown races, 4th of July, Pioneer Day, Spooktacular, Pearl Harbor Day, which is new in this year, which is great. And then the New Year's fireworks, which we've just had. So there's a lot that goes on over the years in those type of things. The community center. The community center is a big part of our department and a great asset for Washington City residents. We have 11 full-time and 100 plus part-time staff that are involved in the community center. You can see all the events and all the things that we do there. But I just want to point out, averaging right now 425,000 visits a year to the community center. It's a lot of people that come through there. We have 4,596 memberships, which comes to approximately 8,000 members that are members of that community center. We are also this year, 2023, the highest revenue ever at the community center, which is almost 2.2 million, 1.18 million. For our recreation division, we have 3 full-time and 50 plus part-time staff there. We do all the youth sports, the adult sports. They do all the field allocation, which is a big part of that, which takes care of all the soccer tournaments and basketball tournaments and league play and club practices, and they coordinate all that. And then they also take care of all the special events and things that go on in the city besides all that. Course, Green Spring Golf Course, there's 6 full-time and 30 part-time staff between the pro shop and the maintenance. The golf course is a great asset to the community. It contributes to our tax base through hotel stays, through shopping, and through restaurant revenues, and with the green fees. There's some numbers there that kind of show the last few years. This last year, again, 2023, the golf course revenue is about 2.1 million, which is the highest we've ever been, and that accounts for 53,353 rounds of golf. So a lot of visitors, a lot of people at the golf course, and a lot of people from out of town.
How many were Jeremy's rounds?
You know what? Jeremy does pretty good up there. He golfs probably, I don't know what you golf, a couple times a month at least up there.
5.
5 were mine.
So one of them
So
was
one a week?
One was during the
And
Mayor's
then-
Cup. So
I appreciate our golf course. It's wonderful.
So it's a great course. People that come there can't believe it's a city course. It's just in great shape. It plays good, and it's an asset to our city. Parks. We have 16 parks in Washington City. We have 14 full-time and 15 part-time staff to do that. Our parks add a great quality of life, I believe, to our residents, Washington City. If they're used, they're nice, they're maintained well, they're clean, and most of all, they're used. I mean, people there enjoying them, and their families and the kids, and really add to the quality of life.
Do you have a question for you, Barry, on that?
Yeah.
It's just what I've noticed it's mostly like Sullivan on event days. I feel like we don't always have enough staff to get the trash picked up. And at the end of the event, it gets pretty hammered. So something we can like maybe schedule around to like have a mid-afternoon pickup or something, just because.
We try to do it in between. Sometimes if we don't have, we try to schedule.
Yeah.
We try to schedule that and try to, at the end of the day, get it all cleaned up and done. But
Yeah,
we'll
and you
look
do a
at
good job
getting
cleaning
more.
it up. I just noticed, like, I mean, I've been at the event, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, these garbage cans.
All of a sudden they fill up quick.
They fill up quick right after the games or around lunchtime, you know?
Councilman Coates throwing the bags in the back of his truck and.
Well, no, there's a dumpster there. You can just.
Well,
take
and
it.
you're true. There's so many people there. There's so many people there, and we do try to schedule and have enough people there. But sometimes
Oh,
we
yeah,
get
it
overwhelmed.
happens. Yeah.
But
So
it's
Barry-
a
Barry-
great place.
Excuse me, do we have signs up that encourage patrons to kind of police their own areas?
No, we don't.
Would that be effective?
I don't know. We have garbage cans all over the place, but there's just so many people. There's just so many people. I don't think there's trash all over the place. I think Councilman Coates is talking about the garbage cans are just overflowed. We have them all over the place. We try to do that and have it scheduled to go pick up. But sometimes maybe we're a half hour, an hour behind or something like that. But we'll work on that, do that better. But it's a great facility. Some of the projects that we have completed this year, these are the major projects. Sunrise Valley Park was completed this summer. Dogtown Park Phase 2 was completed this fall. The Parks and Cemetery Maintenance Building was completed this fall. Baseball diamond lights, sound system, and scoreboards was completed this winter. Just finished some of that. And then the Quentin's Corner Food Truck Court was completed this fall. And so those are some major projects that have been accomplished this year, and we've got a lot more coming up this next year. The cemetery, we have two full-time and two part-time at the cemetery that take care of all that. They take care of the maintenance decorum. They oversee the purchase of plots and the interments. They do the wreaths across America, the Veterans Day. Those things are honored. We did a expansion in 2021, which gave us 1,440 plots, and we're selling about a dozen a month or so on average. Sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less, but that's as far as purchases. There's a lot that are already bought, that when we have burials that are already purchased, but as far as that's what we're doing. So we're a few years out still before we have to do another cemetery. The trails, we now have 26 miles of trails in Washington City. It's really starting to add up. You can see where some of those have come from. We did complete the Virgin River Trail, which is the regional trail that comes. It's by the time it's done, from Gunlock Design is the goal for that. Washington City and St. George have completed their portion of that. There's a lot of other projects we're doing. We're acquiring property to do those things. The next few years will show great growth for the trail heads and trails in Washington City. Matter of fact, that's as the last page I have shows some of the projects, and the majority of the projects in the next couple of years are trailheads and trails. So I'll show those to you in a second. The maintenance department, that division, there's 8 full-time and 17 part-time staff. They do a bunch of work. They maintain all the city buildings, the pool, the splash pads. They have 21 cleaning stops daily. So there's 21 different places that they go to every day on a routine. Some of the improvements that they helped us with, besides their maintenance, is they helped with the new city office remodel here. They helped with the community center lobby remodel, which is just barely got finished this last weekend, right before the new year. And then they also did the UV system, new UV system for the pool, which was a great project. This last slide, these are new facilities that are scheduled for completion in this next 2 years. So the first one, as we all know, is Washington Wills Park, to be completed this winter, 2024. The Grapevine Trailhead and Trail to Main Street to be completed this fall. The Salente project is what that's with. Mill Creek Trail north to the boilers into Main Street, and that will make a great tie, especially with the Grapevine Trail coming over. The Canal Trail common area, which is, we just have a conceptual for that, which was just completed. I think the mayor saw that. I don't know how many of you have seen that yet, but we anticipate in doing that and having that by this winter. And then the Covington Home parking lot will be complete this fall. Those are projects that are just getting ready to go to bid. The Pine View Park Trail to St. George that goes south out of Pine View Park and ties into St. George down by Lynn's and those areas. That's all been ready to go, and so we're going to go bid on that also. The Temple Square, the Temple piece, which we hope to get completed
more of a
this summer.
triangle.
The triangle. And then the Canal Trailhead, with partnership with BLM, we're working with that right now. And these other last two, that's not the Green Spring development, that's Salente again, those two, the Elephant Arch Trailhead and Dino Tracks Trailhead, we hope to.
Well, that's fair
complete
though,
with
because,
those things going in the next few years.
well, and they didn't brand it when they came through, so that's kind of what it was called, the Green Spring development, until they branded Solente, but.
So those are some things that we're doing and very busy and just appreciate your support and appreciate my staff and all the work that they do. They're wonderful.
Barry, that is not too bad. That's a lot for a nine spot batter there, bottom of the lineup, but you did okay. Any brief comments or questions for Barry? We'll keep this moving along.
Barry, again, with the trends, as far as the bids, projects being bid, they're relaxing a little bit, looking a little better for us. What are you seeing?
Well, so we're doing a lot of the state contract stuff. We've had a lot of prices already that we've put together. Also playgrounds and splash pads and things like that, they're just coming in. So we're just at the point where we're just pulling all those together, and then we'll do some bids and have all those specs on there. But they look okay. I mean, I don't think they're changing a whole lot. They're going up or going down. I think they'll be about the same as what we anticipated. So
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Great job. Appreciate all you're doing. That was very helpful to see those slides. Power Director Rick Hansen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. See if I can figure out this. There we go. As a power department goes, a municipal power department, we're actually pretty young. It was founded in 1987, purchased from Utah Power. The load at the time was about 3.7 megawatts. There's a lot of municipals in the state that are over 100 years old. So we service the area north of the Virgin River with the exception of the Countryway area. That's the one area north of the river that we do not serve. Number of customers, you can see there, we're just under 12,000. There's been a month since then, so we've probably added 100 plus since then. Our peak load last year was 52.5 megawatts. We peak in July and August. And our average growth rate over the last 5 years was 6.4. And the one I think is pretty daunting is since the city acquired the system, the average year over year is 7.7 for 36 years. And for a power system, that's pretty substantial growth. A high growth is usually 2 to 3%. So that's a challenge. We operate 6 substations, 69 kV transmission line, and 12 kV distribution system. That's just graphically what the peak load's done. You can kind of see that growth rate in there. Unlike Barry, we don't have a lot of employees. We have 13, one full. Right now we have one apprentice position open, but we have basically 8 journeyman lineman substation positions with 5 technical or support staff. Our total budget for 2024 is right around 27 million with the operating budget of the 22.4. And I think the main point I want to make on this, of that operating budget, 75% is our wholesale power costs. So substantial portion of our budget is paying for resources brought into the city. And then depending on the year, we range in $2 to $4 million a year on capital projects. This is just a quick list of where we get our power from. We have a pretty good mix from hydro to natural gas, wind, solar, waste heat, those kind of things. So those are the projects we participate in from UAMPS. And then we also own 3 2-megawatt CAT generators out at our plant where our offices are. You're welcome to come visit anytime. Future resources, that date on that steel solar should be 2024. Apologize for that. The first phase will come on in February and the remaining in May of this year. And then we're working with UAMPS on several study projects, natural gas projects, solars with batteries, solar with natural gas, expanding wind, geothermal. And I guess the main thing to note on that, to bring these new resources on, typically they're going to take 2 to 5 years minimum. A lot of times even just the transmission interconnect can take up to 5 years to even find out if you can interconnect a given project. So, and in the meantime, the load's still growing at that 7% per year rate, so it creates quite a challenge. So some of our challenges is the high growth rate, finding and keeping affordable wholesale resources. If you've paid attention, you know, coal is being retired at a pretty fast rate, and it's being replaced with wind and solar typically. They don't have the same load profile as a base load coal plant. And I think there's going to be some real interesting challenges that come with that as time goes on. The drought in the West, the last decade, basically, last year was a great year. This year so far, we're under. That can have a big swing on what power prices do. Climate change, clean energy standards. We want to keep an eye on the national elections, depending who is successful coming out on power there or in power there, could dramatically affect the ability to use fossil fuels, which is some of our more baseload, cost-effective resources. And then there's also at the same time a shift to EVs, like Jeremy. But what that does is it shifts load from the transportation sector to the electric sector, and we need to be aware of that. So, you know, keeping rates as affordable as possible. And then in our employee side of things, there's 7 utilities in Washington County that to a certain extent compete for the same employee pool. We have highly trained, very good workers that at the same time make them attractive to other people too. And so we just need to be aware of that. Ruth does a great job in helping us stay ahead of that. And the benefits the city offers are great and is definitely key in helping retain employees. So that's Power Department, quick and dirty. If you got any questions.
Is the CFPP project dead?
As it was, yes. It was terminated in November. And so unless somebody else picks that up, as far as the UAMPS project, yes, it's concluded. We're in a wind down stage of the project, and you'll have more information on that in the next couple of months.
So as it was, is there talk of reconstituting in a different form? Or
Obviously, you know, NuScale, who was selling the reactor, they would love to see somebody come along and pick it up. I've often said, tongue in cheek, we need like an Elon Musk to come in that has more money than they know what to do with and build it, the first one. But people are just skittish about the risk. It is what really killed the project, if you will. Nobody was willing to take that risk of a first in kind, and UAMPS and Washington City being a big part of that pushed it as far as we could, but without help we couldn't continue.
Well done. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for all you're doing in a challenging environment. Chief Williams.
Well, you're not part of the Citizens Academy.
I met those guys the other day, a month or so ago. It's a good group.
Well, thanks for having me. Congratulations on your next 4-year term. Glad to have you seated here with us. But yeah, I'm humbled to be a part of this great organization. I've been a part of Washington City for now 23 years, I think, as a volunteer firefighter when I started in 2000 to current. And I've in my
Does that put you just a couple years behind Barry?
Barry,
I'm glad because there's no couple years about it, but yeah.
Barry is the godfather of Washington. He's got gold chains.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chief.
No, you're totally good. But I'm like I said, I'm humbled to be with these professionals here behind me, and they really do make the wheels go round on this bus. So anyhow, this is your 2023 department. There are some different faces in there and some non-faces in there, but this was at our awards banquet. We haven't got the official photo done, but usually Dave and his genius mind will help us with that backdrop. But we aren't the Chargers. We are the police department. So, but yeah, charging forward though.
So are you putting the Christmas party one just like that up?
For different company. 42 full-time staff. It's broken down there. 2 part-time staff in records and animal control. Some of this is our administration that we have currently. We do have a patrol sergeant vacant right now with one of our sergeants out on long-term disability right now. So as to fill that spot, we've got Sergeant Bartriff, who's over our traffic division, is actually filling that vacant patrol spot until we get that other spot filled. So we're working on that. Our mission statement, again, this is kind of what drives our decision-making and kind of where we're led, but to protect and serve those who reside in or visit Washington City, provide professional and ethical law enforcement, public safety, and traffic services. We're committed to engage the community and function as a team to achieve our mission through integrity, honesty, and enthusiasm while encouraging innovation and productivity. So we really do honor and focus in building those partnerships and relationships with our community, because we cannot have the success, we cannot maintain the quality of life that we enjoy without those partnerships. Our philosophy, Washington City Police Department will do business with the community policing philosophy guiding our efforts while looking for every opportunity to engage the community as part of our problem-solving model within the scope of our mission. They are a true piece in that we cannot fulfill our mission without our community. Then our commitment, the Washington City Police Department is a team-oriented organization that works together to accomplish the mission at hand. With all the resources this department has to offer, there's nothing we cannot accomplish as a team with our various partners to provide the citizens and visitors of Washington City a safe place to live, work, and visit. And that truly is the goal. We want this to be a place that people continue to come back to, reside in, and feel safe while they're here. Washington City offers a lot of great amenities, a lot of great resources, and it's our job to maintain that security and that safety for those visitors, both that come to visit and also those that live here. So clicker went to sleep. So some of the stats for the last year, 11,639 calls. With those calls we provide, there were a total of 10,521 incidents. which represented about a 14% increase from the previous year. Always want to try and get to these emergencies and different calls for service in a timely manner. So in progress calls, it took us around 7 minutes to get to those in progress calls, which represent about 23% of the calls for service, about 8 minutes to a non-priority call, which isn't bad for a city our size, but obviously there's still room to improve, and we'll continue to do that. So am I supposed to point this at a certain thing? Person crimes, again, this kind of goes down different crimes that we're seeing inside the city, from assaults to our sex offenses and different things. A little bit down from the previous year where we had 213, where this year we had, or in 2023, we had 197. So a little bit of a drop, but nothing too drastic. As long as it doesn't go the other way is good. So financial crimes were up a little bit more. Nothing real extravagant. Property crimes also up a little bit. Really, with property crimes, they are come to be kind of more of a opportunistic crime. There's a lot of commercial, a lot of building going on around, construction going around, so some of these are attributed to that. And then just kind of do our part to mitigate some of that as citizens as well. Traffic analysis, so 599 traffic accidents occurred in Washington City last year, a little bit from the 533 from the previous. Again, just more people, more movement. 431 individuals visited the Gray Bar Hotel. A little bit down from last year as well. So nice bed and breakfast out there. Societal crimes, this is our drug crimes, down a little bit from the previous year, which is good, but still a part of our community that we deal with on a daily basis. But here's where we're kind of involved with our other partners, our dispatch center. We do our bike patrol unit, K9 unit, traffic unit, school resource, our investigations unit that's also involved with internet crimes against children, bomb squad, crisis negotiations, our drug task force with partnerships with DEA, HSI, ICE, and U.S. Marshals. We're part of our SWAT team, public order team, and then our other partners in-house with animal control and code enforcement. Dispatches ran through St. George City PD. We helped pay their bills. Our bike patrol, our drug task force. This is a collaborative effort with all the partnerships and law enforcement throughout the county. Comprise our drug task force. Our K9 officers here, Officer McInnes with Maverick, Officer Tanner with Zook, and our newest addition, Officer Hardman with Gunner. Great assets to have on the team.
Chief, what breed is Gunner? It doesn't look like a Belgian Malinois,
Gunner
obviously, but
is a pointer.
really,
It's a bird dog.
is it like a Brittany?
Brittany Spaniel, on the right.
Looks like, yeah.
Got a good nose. So
Okay.
drug only. So Officer Hardman and Gunner are just certified with narcotics. The other two handlers their dogs are both narcotic and patrol. So, patrol meaning apprehension. So bite dogs. We'll bring Gunner in. You can love up on him. He's a great dog. Great dog. School resource officers, partnerships in the school district there with our 3 officers in the schools with Officer Nash, Jolly, and Scheme. Officer Nash will be replaced at the end of this school year with a new SRO. He's coming up on his 5-year time frame in the school. So that's it.
Questions for Chief Williams? Comments?
Just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Glad we have you protecting us.
Glad to protect. Thank you, guys.
And just counsel, we'll make sure that the recorder gets all this packet out to you so you have this information as a resource as well. Chief Evans, Washington City Fire. Well done the other night with those fireworks, by the way. Right at 10 p.m., boom.
Got to start them on time. People are waiting. Get in trouble with Barry if you don't start on time. Chief Williams really wanted to have a comment before he left, and so since he didn't say anything, I get to. Either way, I appreciate that he reminded everybody where he came from. And the reason that Washington City has the best police chief is because he was the only one trained properly with starting in the fire department. And we'd still take him back, so it's all right.
Okay, I knew you
we
would.
would take him back.
If arresting people were easy, firemen would do it.
We wouldn't have to arrest him. We could talk him out of doing it. I appreciate Ruth's comment as far as the city and the work it puts in hiring the right people. It really is it's an honor and it's a pleasure to work here with a council that is supportive, a city manager that is very much engaged and supportive, as well as the group of people that are here today. It truly comes together as a team, and it's really a dynamic that doesn't exist everywhere, and I appreciate it. When you talk about hiring the right people, the people that you have in your fire department, they are great people, and beyond that, they are great at their profession. We put them up against anybody in any of those categories. We figure you probably understand the fire department as far as what it does, although really to call it the fire department is probably wrong in today's world. What we do is a small piece of fire. Nationwide fires continually go down. We're appreciative of those people that would buy, electric vehicles like Teslas and things like that, because they help us with our call volume. It goes up a lot more. And catch on fire. I mean, you got one. You had to get another one too. That's fine. The staffing in your fire department, this has changed a lot in the last 2 years, and that's for your support, which we appreciate. Of course, we added a full-time battalion chief. We're able to find somebody part-time in that fire marshal role that is starting this week, actually. Super excited about that. Right now, we have 24 full-time. Of course, they're working on a 4896. That really is the shift of the fire service in Utah, anyway, as far as 4896. There was one department left that switched to the 4896 the middle of this past year. Most have been working that same schedule for probably 15, 18 years now. Right now we have about 26 part-time firefighters. It really varies as far as that groups go. Right now, that 26, 16 of those work full-time in the fire service between one of our partnering agencies. That does a tremendous amount, of course. I think it's a great show of the relationship we have with the agencies around us. There's not another department that has that kind of part-time staff, even though everyone has part-time folks that are represented. So really good. We still have 2 volunteer firefighters. One of them was mentioned earlier. He doesn't have any choice. We'd like to hire him, and we'd like to steal him, but Officer Nash is one of our volunteers. Last year, you can see we were just short of 2,700 calls. You can see the majority of those are medical calls. We ran those numbers when me and the city manager went up north a few weeks back. We found that most departments that run medical calls, most fire departments in the state of Utah do EMS calls. There's only a couple that don't. And then the split of who runs ambulances is probably about 50. But of those almost 1,900 medical calls, that would incorporate to actually right around 50% will transport to the hospital. You can see the increase, just over 40% increase in that 5-year period. You can see the mutual aid and automatic aid. Mutual aid is still what we have with our neighbors to the west, automatic aid with the others. We've done some good work on that. I think that we'll get to where we can get to an automatic aid system countywide as we get that last one to come over. You can see that it's a great give and take. It's not that we're going off all the time to help and it's not reciprocated or vice versa. It's right where you'd like to see it. And that bounces up and down whether we are out or they're helping us. So in that last year, fire loss was about $2 million. We track obviously the amount that was saved there. So about a $10 million save in those fire calls. You can see that fires, and if you took the fire calls out, the 800, and you broke it down to what are actual fires, you would expect really right along the national average. City this size, that would represent somewhere probably 6 to 10 actual working structure fires. We respond to a number of those. We actually had one that comes out as a structure fire on New Year's Eve. We wouldn't count that as one. It ends up with some disposable problems that we always have with fireworks and when they end up in the garbage can, but luckily it didn't progress. And then it's really everything else. A big portion of that is really citizen assist. We find that a lot of people call the fire department when they don't know who else to call. If they have a problem, they can't figure out a solution, which is where a lot of what we do has come from. So just currently, of course, we have Station 61. There's 3 full-time people that work at that station, of course, 24/7, and then that's augmented with 1 part-time slot. We have that same staffing at Station 62. Of course, this is a little split right now with Main Street, and so the model looks slightly different than this, because we have a couple people at 61, and then we have a couple of people at the house over here off of Main Street, temporarily to try to keep our response times down, which has worked well. And then at our shared station, we have 2 full-time out there with 2 full-time from Hurricane. They've started to send a 3rd person, which is more than what is in our contract. And we see that a good portion of the time now. This map just kind of represents one of the national standards is 4 minutes. That's just the literal drive time. And this is where you can see a lot of what's outside of the colored circles is some of that is undeveloped. You can see the parkway there, which is right at the end of that pink, which is right at the end of 61's area, is really where we have property to build another station. And then the same thing on that far south end of town. And we're trying to really pin that down. We have some things we're working on as far as property goes and what's there at Stookie Farms and whatnot to solve those 2 problems. This is another thing that you all have helped us significantly in the last 4 years, 5 years. This list of equipment, that 2003 was the newest piece of equipment we had. Everything else was older than that. It spent as much time in the shops as it did on the road. So you can see that the delivery date from the 24 fire engine that we ordered, they're expecting it sometime in June of 26. We ordered that as soon as we had your approval in July. And then our brush trucks, those are our little grass trucks as far as it goes. And we have one of those at each of the stations. Of course, the ladder truck, and then also that 2021 Dodge. We only paid half for both of those rigs as we split that cost with the fire district.
Questions for Chief Evans? Comments? Go ahead, Councilman.
Jeremy doesn't like the answer. There's
no. It's a yes or no. That's a number question. How many Tesla fires has
Chief, feel
Washington
free to
City Fire
elaborate.
He's very
Department
data driven
put
too, so
out?
he wants the specifics for sure. So it, we
Is
are
that a-
seeing
is that a
significant
zero?
increase. We haven't responded to any. We know where the first one will be. We'll probably make sure we get really quickly to his house.
Sugar plum.
Just to make sure that number was zero? Is that what I-
We haven't responded to anywhere. What we do see though is just that batteries. That's probably, I don't know. Well, even in the county, I'll bet you that's the cause of, outside of the fireworks issues we had, that's probably the leading cause. We're fortunate that most of the battery runaways that transpires, people are putting those chargers out in their garage. We see that, but what we're seeing in everyone's garage now are just banks of batteries. And when they fail, they fail. Teslas are a great example. They do run away. The nationwide trend now is we don't even put them out. Once it fails and it starts to run away, it won't stop. So we can put it out, but it just restarts.
Here's the Tesla numbers.
Oh,
There's been 218 confirmed Tesla fires and 80 fatalities.
Nationally?
80 fatalities.
Knowing that we want to support our power department, I would recommend our next fire truck be an electric vehicle.
Teslas are great. We should buy some more. Just not in the fire engine. They do make them. Actually. So, yeah, batteries are a problem. It's a great, obviously, source of power, but they fail.
Come a long way over the last
What's
few
that?
years. Our department's come a long way over the last few years.
It has come a long way. It's actually really probably 2 years ago when I stood here, we were closing Station 62 over 50% of the time because we didn't have enough people to keep it open.
Right.
And since that budget year, when that ended, we haven't closed the fire station. They've been open 24/7. They've always been staffed. So when we say progress, we've seen tremendous progress in the department for sure. We
Well,
appreciate that support.
And we appreciate the department that you're building, and more importantly, the culture within that department. Keep up the good work, Chief, and we stand ready to continue to support you keeping our community safe.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chief.
Blake Fonsbeck, Public Works Director, and welcome, by the way. This be your first time. I mean, this is the only second time we've ever done this, every couple of years, but I'm glad you're here for your inaugural
Yeah, it's good to be here. I've been
moment.
here as Public Works Director a little over a year with Washington City. I've had prior to that 30 plus years in Public Works and 19 years as a director, but this is the best place to be over those years. I really love all the projects and all the excitement that we have here, and we're really growing quite a bit. Public Works is responsible for the streets, water distribution, water treatment, irrigation in Old Town, sewer collection, stormwater collection, new development, fleet, and GIS mapping. And we do that with, we have 58 full-time employees. And I got, like, these slides have so much information on them that I'm just gonna grab quick little highlights off of each one. And then, but in the street division, we have 191 miles of roadway, 13 traffic signals. This year, we have 2 more that are being designed right now and will be under construction in this current year, and then another two more.
I know you have a lot, and I think I know where one of those lights are. Can you, do you remember off the top of your head where those new lights have met warrants?
So we have, this year is at George Washington Boulevard and 240
Yep.
East, and then we also have.
Is it on Telegraph maybe, or?
We have at 1100 and Telegraph. We also are looking at, we're looking a little bit at the roundabout of Washington Parkway and Grapevine there, that roundabout, trying to decide, there may be some different things that we can do with that roundabout to actually extend it out, but we're deciding which is the best way to go with that one. So that one's in place, looking at it. And then also looking at George Washington Boulevard and 20 East as well. And, so, yeah, we've got quite a few there that, a lot of that going on. In the, there's also the Fields Road extension that we're currently working on right now, and the interchange over on George Washington Boulevard and SR7. So there's a lot going on in the department. With oh, there we go. Wrong one. Okay, sorry. With the water distribution and treatment, got 279 miles of water main line, 3 million gallon per day microfiltration plant, 6 water storage tanks. Just for informational, just to see the big swings there. In the winter, the peak usage is about 2.5 million gallons per day. And in the summer, the peak usage is 13.6 million gallons per day right now. So quite a big change in that. We have a lot of projects with the water division. A lot of those are dealing with storage. There's some, we have quite a bit of storage that we're going to be working on over the next years, and as we respond to all the development and being able to fit in to meet the needs of all the development. The sewer division, 205 miles of mainline pipe, 4,600 plus manholes, and then 6 lift stations. That just keeps increasing as well with development. It's interesting, I just want to say quickly that of any of the cities I've ever been at, they all generally start, if you kind of a square or a circle, and their growth like just touches the edge and continues to grow out that way. We are leapfrogged all over the place. And currently right now with all the growth and that, I looked at the map and we're pretty much a giant construction zone. So it's really, really interesting. And it's an interesting place to be in public works, and I enjoy that. It's great. Stormwater division as well has 110 miles of pipe. We operate under a state stormwater pollution protection plan permit with the state, and then we've also got new development. There's 96 active projects currently going on. And then with fleet, we have 330 pieces of equipment that we maintain. And then all of that stuff comes together in the last with the GIS. And if you look at just the picture there, it really matches our topography over here. We have lots of layers that you can see. And these aren't as easy to see, but there are a lot of layers to public works. And as you look at the GIS, that really tells the story of all of just the different mapping and everything that we deal with GIS. And it's a very valuable tool and resource as well as we go through. We've also learned that it's only as good as the information that we put in. So sometimes we have to really work to get that accuracy and make sure. But just wanted to say that public works, it's always happening all around us all the time. And it's generally never noticed until something goes wrong. But our department goal has been last year and this year is to continually provide excellent customer service and to improve the lives of the citizens of Washington City. I think years ago when I was in Public Works, the Utah League of Cities and Towns came up with a campaign called Making Life Better. And I really just have held on to that all the way through. And I think that's definitely what Public Works does, is as we improve, as we innovate, and as we move forward, we definitely make life better for all of our citizens. And then our customers are both external and internal as well. And working with the other departments, we work to help all the other departments as well in what things they have. So, any questions?
You're doing a great job. I know it's a lot.
Thanks. Well, I enjoy it. It seems great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Blake. We're
Blake,
lucky to have you.
Blake, just one more on a personal note is we're very happy that you're healthier now and that you're back with us.
I'm happy that way too. I'm really happy to be alive, actually. So it's great. It's great. And I'm good that I can walk up here and everything. So thanks.
Rusty, the manager's going to take a little, not this manager, but the manager of coach of a baseball team. We've got Drew Ellerman probably needing to be sworn in out in Hurricane here in a little bit. Can we just switch you two in the lineup? We'll let you finish up the game, and we'll bring Drew up now.
I don't understand the sports references, but.
Just nod and say yes, thank you.
Just keep your bat ready.
You're on deck.
I thought we were trying to stall so that he couldn't get sworn in. Wasn't that what we were doing?
Just sworn at, yeah, for showing up late.
Here's a guy that knows a thing or two about baseball puns and
I have lots of
references.
baseball stuff because the clock's ticking. I'm going to hold them and I'll share them with you later. But yeah, I got all kinds of good baseball stuff. But thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted our department, as you know, is responsible for overseeing the planning, the zoning, the subdividing, and the building that goes on in the city. And I'm going to focus mostly on just the building because the numbers are incredible. I'm going to have to run through these are all Rusty's, and I'll just try to get. Yeah, guys, don't look, just, somebody play the Jeopardy music. And
there we go.
But I'm going to focus on the last 6 years. So much has happened in this city in the last 6 years. And if you go back to around 2018, you see that bottom number at the totals of 716. That was your new record 6 years ago. We kind of dropped a little bit in 19, but then you can see in 20, 21, 22, and 23, we've just been out there with lots of numbers. And I know Councilman Ivy was going to ask, I'm going to beat you to it, Councilman. You want to know what's the forecast? Just to let you know, it just came in fresh off the press. December of 2023, your biggest record year of new home starts, 105. And in December, period, I don't care what year it is. It's notorious that the last 10 days of December, development kind of goes halt. They take their time off. They enjoy their families. They enjoy the holidays. So that just blows my mind. Even being in this business for 30 years now, starting my 31st year in 2 weeks of being in city planner. Not here, but in 2 places. And but December, that just blew my mind. 105 new home starts. So that tells you where this year's kind of going. So I will tell you, it's not slowing down. We'll probably match this last year in number of permits. So this just kind of puts it on a graph. I'm thinking we're going to break 700, between 750 again for 2023. And I don't see it being much different the year after. So just wanted to bring that up. So just to give you some quick numbers, we average total permits, and that's my next slide I wanted to get to. You can see some of those numbers as well, staggering. These are total permits issued in a given year. And the last 2 years have been the last 3 years you can see have just been off the charts. There's been an average over the last 6 years of 1,380 total building permits issued. That's equaling basically 5.25 new permits issued every day, all year long, not weekends, but every business day. 5 new permits every day going out the door. The department has done 162,933 total inspections in that last 6 years, with an average of 27,156 per year, with 104 every working day of inspections going out. Just in the last 2 years alone, 34,892 average the last 2 years, with 133 inspections performed every business day in Washington City. A lot of people ask me about the apartments because we don't put those in our building permit numbers, and that's what is even more staggering on new home starts. We put them in as numbers, but we have built in the last 6 years in this city 1,311 new apartment units, and still some being finished up on the Bluffview Commons there. Our department, in our building department, consists of 8 inspectors and 2 permit techs. And that's 6 inspectors out in the field with a full-time plans examiner inside going every day. So as you can see, your city is busy. And the reflection of what you heard, that all comes through all these items that have been happening. Again, we are setting record numbers in this city, and even down here, we're competing very closely with our neighbor next door. In fact, there's sometimes we beat them in numbers. So that says a lot for what's happening in the city of choice. So with that said, I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I appreciate you bringing me up so I can run, go get my suit, dust it off, go put it on, and have my little fun this afternoon as you've just experienced. So, but any questions that I can answer for you, Council and Mayor?
Council, questions, comments for Drew, Community Development.
Good luck getting sworn at.
Okay, I'll try to find that and get it, and then, yeah, so we can have those. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, batter up. You get that one. There we go. Thanks, Drew.
Mayor, council, thanks for being patient. We're getting close to the end of the game. Insert game. I'm going to start with the vision statement for my department, and it's really simple, one line. It's Washington City's Economic Development Department will invest in quality of life. And we do that in a lot of ways. I think I'm happy to be kind of at the end here. We've heard from a lot of different departments, and I have to say that I can't do my job. I can't do a good job without the support of the staff and the council and the mayor and the city manager. And it's been wonderful being here. I'm going on year 3. I'm kind of in the club with Blake there, and some of the, maybe Jordan a little bit's in the club. I'm grateful to just be here as well, and grateful grateful for the support that staff and the council and mayor have provided. And I think we're heading in the right direction. And we have a lot of great days ahead of us and a lot of good things to happen. I'll start my timer here. Okay. That didn't count. Okay, Drew went over these numbers a little bit, and I'm going to go through these quickly because you've seen them. Most of you have seen them. If you have any questions, let me know, and then I'll just fill in a few little nuanced things here. We're mostly a bedroom community. We're 98% residential. However, we are seeing an uptick. If you look at that red line, those are the commercial projects. I have sorted out the commercial projects to show we've got 29 for 2023, and I think we're at about 5 right now for 2024, fiscal year 2024. No, I'm sorry, 2020. We're going to get a little bit more nuance, so hopefully I'll be able to give you a better update on how much of those are industrial. I see a lot of them are industrial. There's a saying that retail follows rooftops, and that's a better saying. It's a more favorable saying than industrial follows rooftops. So that's generally the way it happens. You get a lot of rooftops, you start getting industrial, and then the retail comes in. And we've had, in the last 5 years, we've had 47 new industrial projects in the city. And then we're starting to see commercial projects. We have a lot in the hopper. I think we have some folks here on the stand who have helped quite a bit with that. And it's nice to see that going up. I live near Grapevine Crossing, so it's nice to see that going up and having those services available. I will also say that we are a growing city. We're the second largest by population in Washington County. We sit at about just over 36,000 residents right now, according to the last census, and that's a 26% increase in population since 2020, the last census. We do have a bit of a problem because our residential has outpaced our commercial. We have a lot of this going on. This is probably one of the number one complaints that I hear from residents. And I think it will be addressed as we continue to start to build commercial within Washington City. It provides jobs, products, and services closer where Washington City folks live. We've also done a lot of investment in infrastructure. I'm glad that Blake went first. Because that also helps to bring some of this commercial. The commercial is really important because the median cost to provide community services for each dollar of revenue that the city raises is about $1.16, and I would say it's upwards of that with the larger lots as well. We do receive a small portion of property taxes. It's about 12%. The largest, the majority share goes to the school district. They receive over 70%. These are our largest revenue sources that the city has. The other one is sales tax. When you look at sales tax, although the city receives about 1% of that 6.75% roughly that is charged for sales tax, about 85% of that goes to the state. So the majority of it goes to the state. We get about 1% back. And then we can work with about 0.5%. Even though sales tax, commercial development is much more outpaced by residential, although we're seeing that start to turn a little bit. 65% of our two largest revenue sources are comprised of sales tax. So that a little bit goes a long way with municipal budgets. So this has been a priority for Washington City and one that I think will continue to be so. Just to break down our mission, we really have three things that we want to focus on. It's a lot more complicated than I've simplified it to, but we want to work on sales tax base, or property tax base, and buying power through well-paying jobs. And I think we have several projects in the works now that help address those. Retail is important to municipalities. It helps with the cost of community service, not just roads, police, fire, all of these departments that have gone before me here. It helps reduce traffic, and it provides goods and services for residents and visitors. We do have one large office project. This is unusual because we've seen a lot of that scaling back with the supply chain delays and the work from home shift. There's a lot of national trends that have pushed that back, but we have some large office projects in the works as well. But one that I think they're close to their C of O soon. And then we have seen a lot of industrial, including the largest single industrial project to ever come to Washington County, the RS Southwest Logistics Center. We sit at about 12.3 million square feet right now of the latest numbers, and this is almost a 35% increase in inventory for the entire county with this single project. It's a huge capital investment into the area, and I think that it will bring a lot more commercial, and it will really make some of those commercial corridors very viable because it brings that daytime traffic. The other thing that we're seeing is a lot of residential. We're seeing continue to see residential growth. I'm glad that Drew went before me. I won't go over this in a lot of detail, but we're also seeing a big mix of residential, including that missing middle. And I think that's really important because we need housing available at all different income levels. Some of the biggest constraints right now is housing and labor, and those are very closely tied. So those are constraints and those are hesitations for businesses that want to come to the area. I really work a lot with the city, and I work on also coordinate with regional and state level economic development groups. We belong to quite a few. There's the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity that we coordinate through. They provide some of the incentives that will come a little bit later that we'll be able to tack on when we start to bring in some of the projects that's geared towards. We're also, there's been quite a bit of transition on the regional level, but we are working closely with the Utah Alliance and the Southern Utah Alliance. The What's Up Down South will be later this month, and I think a few of you plan on going. And I also like to say that the Utah Alliance, not the Southern Utah Alliance, but the whole state Utah Alliance, will be featuring Washington City in their 2025 quarterly meeting. So it'll be a focus on Washington City. I help serve on that. I serve on that board, and will help coordinate that. I would like to say is that there are some economic development tools. Some of these are being reduced or adjusted. This is something I work closely with Jordan as we look at the next legislative session. There are new ones being introduced, and there are some reduction in how we can utilize some of these tools. So I'm in coordination with quite a few folks that have interest in opening that up a little bit. we kind of fall in this strange place where a lot of things shifted to rural. We're not quite rural, but we're not quite an urban area either. So we fall through the cracks sometimes. And I think those close relationships with the greater Utah and state representatives and federal representatives is really important. So I appreciate that. That is all I have aside from Councilman Ivey. I did jot down a few things because you were asking about trends. So I'd be happy to go over those.
Please.
Okay. So in retail, we're seeing a shift in decision-making criteria. It's not what it used to be. We have some inside baseball where we, as economic developers, at the state level, we track these things and people aren't doing what they have normally done. I think there's a big shift since COVID. We're also seeing a lot of interest in drive-throughs and quick serve and less contact. So we're seeing that on the staff developer side as projects come in, those national trends do trickle down to the local level. We're still seeing supply chain delays, and there's a lot of uncertainty. The market, as far as the interest rates, are starting to settle down a little bit. But what we've seen is this hike in interest rates has weeded out some of the developers that are working more with debt rather than having some cash reserves built up. And so we see large retailers making some moves recently. And not what you would expect. It's we're kind of having to relearn since COVID who's making moves and who isn't. So some people are just closing stores, and some people are being aggressive and moving. And we have a lot of interest in Washington City. We have a few retail places that have recently turned over, a lot of renovations going, a lot of capital investment, and that includes those tenant improvements and the Walmart rebuild. Their automated service that they're adding. I guess the thing is uncertainty is the biggest thing for developers right now. And I think that the best way that Washington City can help is to continue to attract high quality commercial development would be to really continue to improve on our policies, our permitting, and our process. I don't think that should ever stop. I think we should always be in contact. I know on the other side of the counter, they've made a lot of changes. They do more simultaneous reviews. They're architects, engineers, general contractors are all working together. Bidding is different now. And the more that we can be flexible and adjust to that on the municipal side, I think the more that we can be supportive of the conditions that are outside of everyone's control here. Do you have any questions?
We appreciate the work you're doing. You know, I sat in Chief Evans' office a few months ago, and I promised him $1 million view annually. So just as long as we get going vertical on some of those things, we're going to be really happy with economic development. Additional questions, comments for Rusty, doing a great job there, and for the #1 small city in America to start a business. Let's continue 2 years in a row. Keep shouting that from the rooftops. Thoughts, comments?
Okay,
Jeremy?
I want to make a comment, not Rusty specific, but I didn't comment on each person, but I think I can say we're extremely fortunate to have the employees that we have, the department heads that we have. That's why I enjoy doing this every couple of years. I think you see that they're professional, they're passionate, and Washington City's in good hands. Most of all, they're committed to the city and our future and our success. So couldn't be more proud to work with the department heads and the employees that we have. They're really what makes our city fantastic. So thank you.
Well said. Okay, before we move on to the next and last item, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Department heads, you don't have to stay for the Open and Public Meeting Act. We're going to take 5, and then we'll come back. And Thad, you're the exception to that, and Tara, since you're doing the training and you're the recorder. members that are joining us electronically, that have hung with us through what turned out to be a little bit longer of a meeting than we had anticipated. But we'll go to our second and last item, which is open and public meetings training. And that will be presented to the council by our city attorney, Thad Sigmiller.
Thank you, Mayor. There we go. It's a pleasure to do this training every year. It's about the same training every year because this is one of the laws the legislature doesn't change very often. As I prepared this year, I kind of chuckled and I got thinking, what are some of the other laws that the legislature has that come with a training element? And so I took a few notes. Any of you that have a driver's license, you know, that's a state law that's a privilege connected to a training requirement. Anybody that hunts or fishes, you know, that's a state privilege defined by state law that comes with a training privilege or a training requirement. A lot of professional licenses and special licenses, like whether you're a pilot or a CDL or you've got to go complete training in order to get that benefit, and that's all required by state law. If you want to get divorced, you've got to get the benefit of the divorce in the state, you've got to go take some classes that the legislature makes you take. And if you want to hold a public meeting, you've got to have some training. And so here we are.
But there was no training to get married,
No, not yet.
to have kids,
Attorneys debate that one quite a bit.
but to get out of the marriage, you got to go take a training
You
class.
got to take 2 classes to get out of a marriage, but you don't have to take any to get into it. Maybe we need to lobby the legislature this session. Hey, let's get a.
But wait, let me just, don't you have to have a marriage license?
You do, but you don't have to take a course.
Just have to pay a fee.
They just give the license for a fee.
Mm-hmm. I've provided to you the handout that I do every year. I've added a little bit to it this year. My intent for putting this in writing is to really boil it down. I know that open and public meetings training once a year is not responsive enough to your questions that come up throughout the year as you're trying to do your best in your roles. And so the purpose of the printed document is just to be a resource for you throughout the year as the real questions are going to arise. I like to start on the intent of the legislature, which I think is correct, which I think represents the system that we were fortunate to be born within, which is a system where the people's business is conducted openly and publicly. And that's the reason why we have this law, and that's the reason why we have this training. It's the policy of the legislature of the state of Utah that the people's business would be decided openly, that the votes and deliberations would happen openly, and that the public have a right to come watch, listen, and participate when appropriate. And so that's the overriding sentiment, I think, that is why we do this off and on. In my years, both as an elected person and now as an attorney for the body, I have never seen a person that just was hell-bent to break this rule. I think everybody I've ever run into wants to support and abide by this policy. And really where the questions come is in the gray areas that are presented by something like we've got today, where we've got a couple sick council members, somebody had to leave early. You know, how do we act? How do we do things, right? And
Yeah, and the sick are attending electronically today.
Yep. And so that's where the questions come up throughout the year. And so we'll that's why you have attorneys. That's why we talk about this more and more. One thing I think's notable every year is the definition of a meeting in the statute is much broader than Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. The legislature defines a meeting as any discussion or receiving of comments about the public's business or about the public issues. And so when that meeting contains a quorum, it needs to have been properly noticed and properly placed on a public agenda. All of you in your roles frequently discuss and receive comment about public issues, but frequently it's, you know, a one-on-one or you with a couple citizens, or maybe 2 of you with some citizens. And so really what you need to be aware of is the line between your personal discussions about the public business and your role as a member of this body discussing the public's business. And once there's 2 or more of you, you need to be aware of that. And and try to get those discussions into a properly noticed agenda so they can be discussed in the public and openly. We talk about the definition of quorum. I was joking during the break. You know, we've got a quorum issue today because we've got a council member that left. In our city, we've adopted in the council policies and protocols manual a policy on electronic meetings. State law states that if we have such an adoption, then we can actually hold them electronically. And so I'll spend most of my training on that later, is just talking about our electronic meetings policy, because that's a new area that I think is one that we haven't used for a few years since COVID. In our city, a 5-member council, the quorum number is 3. We need three quorum members, 3 members of the council to open a meeting to conduct the business of the public. If there's an absence of a council member, the meeting can proceed if they're absent, as long as we have a quorum. Or we can proceed if they are present through the electronic meeting policy, which we've adopted. In the absence of the mayor, state law requires and city code requires that there be a mayor pro tempore that's identified and essentially steps into the powers and duties of the mayor for however long that the mayor's absence or disability or reason for not being present is there. You're all very well aware of the public notices and the agendas. State law states that a council cannot take action unless it's been given proper public notice and been placed on a proper agenda. And so that's the reason why the recorder's office is so diligent with those 2 points. A lot of us wrestle with timeframes of getting our stuff on the agenda, and there's a constant workload to keep up with these 2 things. The reason the recorder's so diligent on that is that's what makes the council's actions legitimate, is if they've been properly noticed and properly put on an agenda. Written minutes and meeting recordings, state law requires that we take those and we have those. Our IT department and recorder department have gone a step farther with technology, and they've made them video minutes and video recordings. And so it's really neat what they produce. It's a very high-tech document where you can click links and go watch the videos of those exact items being discussed. What I think IT and recorder really grabbed onto is, traditionally the recorder was just writing a recorder summary of the discussion, and in Washington City you can just go watch the actual occurrence as it was. And so it's a real true, fresh, just actual take on the discussion item that happened.
It's pretty cool. It's something we've just done within the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'd say within the last 18 months or so is when they fine-tuned that.
Yep.
And did a really good job at it. I think it's really
Very transparent.
Yep.
And efficient.
Closed meetings, we train you on those every time we have one. There's a lot of reasons why you can go into a closed meeting. The prominent ones for our council is usually professional competence or HR related issues to an individual, litigation or threats of litigation or real estate transactions. But there's others that theoretically could apply if they ever came up. I've attached to the back of your packet the state code on electronic meetings. Around the time of COVID is when state law really transformed to allow electronic meetings. It was probably a little late for the technology available at the time, but it was right on time for the issue that the country was facing. And so around that time, the council also adopted in the policies and protocols our own electronic meeting policy. The state law that I shared with you, it says that a council may adopt an electronic meeting resolution, ordinance, or policy, but that they cannot conduct electronic meetings unless they have. And so part of what I prepared to talk with you about today is our electronic meetings manual. I did want to show you one thing here. In the state law, I just mentioned a couple of these highlights. The state basically says you can hold them electronically if you want, right? And then there's some things that our city does as far as requiring a quorum, requiring them at a certain location. Then there's some shalls. The shalls are requirements related to public participation, the public's ability to know what's going on, to have notice of the meeting, and then to have a place to go attend it. And you'll see here at the very end, unless you adopt a resolution, you can't do it. And I thought this was interesting. Except for a unanimous vote, a public body that is conducting electronic meetings shall take all votes by roll call. And so even the legislature recognizes if it's electronic, it's hard to tell who voted what. And so this is saying, yeah, if you're going to do it electronically, you're supposed to, kind of like we do we have some roll call votes that we make sure are always done that way. Essentially in electronic meetings, we should always do it that way. So if you go to our council protocols and policies, 4.7 is on electronic meetings.
Push button there, Councilman. There you go.
Yeah, I gotta get used to the new system.
Back in the saddle.
So is that, if you have any one member that's attending by electronic, it falls under those rules, or?
I believe so. So the way the statute reads, I think it contemplates that everybody's electronically participating. Our city, every single one of our meetings is a public electronic meeting. And so every single one of them, in theory, somebody could show up as a council member from an electronic location and vote electronically. And so I interpret it to mean if we're going to have anybody voting that's not present in the room, we should do it as a roll call vote, just for clarity to the public as to who voted what. So some of the things our policy says, which I really like this. Members participating shall be considered present at the meeting for all purposes and shall be afforded every opportunity to participate in the discussions item on the agenda and cast their votes on issues coming to the council for a vote. So there's certain people in certain places that think if you're not present, you shouldn't get to participate, or at least you shouldn't get to vote. Our city's council adopted a protocol that I agree with, which is presence isn't what it used to be. If you can appear electronically, we're going to let you participate in the meeting as if you were here and vote as if you were here. And so, again, I like that. I think that's forward thinking. I don't think we have members of the council who abuse this and don't ever come. It gets used when folks are traveling, unavailable to be here, and I like that it allows them to be participants with us. We also have, the state law requires an anchor location. So we've identified our anchor location as this room. And that's why every one of our weekly meetings is a public electronic meeting. So we're at our anchor location. If one of our body isn't able to be here, we're going to be here at the anchor location. They can chime in. The public also can come. You'll see that we adopted basically state requirements for posting, for noticing our meetings and posting them publicly so people can be aware of it. You'll see here, this is a question that state law asks us to solve, is how many people have to be present at the anchor to hold this electronic meeting? And what we've said is at least one. And so all we need is one person present in the room. And according to our protocol, we can hold an electronic meeting with everybody else chiming in from somewhere else. We've got a few here, F and G. You'll see in section F, the mayor or mayor pro tem is instructed to contact the people that are electronically connecting, make sure they've got contact, that they're able to participate to the degree that they want to. That's going to be on your page. Oh, sorry, this is not in your handout. This is in the council policies and protocols. I can get you a copy. Yeah.
Sorry.
I referenced it as if you had it, but you don't have this. Yeah. Another one, prior to taking a vote, the mayor or mayor pro tem will inquire, make sure that they're able to adequately monitor discussion, they've had enough. And so we built some decorum into the policy as well. And then finally, the minutes of the meeting shall designate, how they're participating. And so I wanted to focus on the electronic meeting this time because it's one I haven't trained you on in the prior year or two. I'm not predicting that we'll need it, but we kind of learned how to do this really well during COVID, and for a couple of years we haven't done it. So I thought it'd be useful to bring it up again.
I'm hearing from Councilwoman Casperson, who's been attending electronically, and at this point she's telling me that she will not vote to end this meeting. because she really appreciates all the staff teasing of our city manager. So this meeting could be the never-ending, this special electronic workshop meeting.
She's gonna have to stay logged in for hours. So she can't log out if we can't shut down.
She may never want to attend in person again because she has to sit next to me, so.
I think there's a ha-ha or something there, so maybe.
Yeah, I missed her jokes today. I hope she's feeling better by our next
Yeah,
meeting.
both of them weren't feeling good this morning.
So I like that at the time when we adopted this, our council was clearly forward thinking. They were willing to integrate technology and acknowledge that, that's way better than just having an absence and trying to deal with absences or too many absences. Today's example is even though we've had one have to leave the meeting, others that didn't come because of illness.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Comments, Jeremy?
I just have one comment. I just want Councilwoman Henderson or Casperson missed the meeting. So I just want that on the record.
I can tease you about that right
That
there.
the heat was on today. It's actually quite warm in this room, but it will never
she
happen
may
again.
be typing on this thread here. Let me just see here. Hey, good meeting. For what it's worth, we do have great staff. I hope, I know I found it valuable. I think it's just good to reconnect with the departments and just have a refresher on the Open and Public Meetings Act. So thanks for, I know it went a little long today, but thanks for bearing with me, everybody. And Thad, thanks for the training. Thanks for the handout. Good information. We'll keep towing the line. And so before I call for a motion to adjourn, I'll just make note that all she wrote was Councilwoman Henderson, 2 exclamation points.
I can't see her sign.
Just laying it on.
It's turned around the other way. That's my excuse. We're going to have to get these signs to go both directions.
Well, they're not attending by Zoom, so we can't even do a roll call vote.
We're doing it on the phone here, but Belliston is close to Sun. We had the Martinson, we have the Henderson and Belliston. It throws a T in there. We're going to be okay on this one. Council members, would one of you like to make a motion to close this workshop or this special meeting?
So made.
Motion by Councilman Belliston. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Ivy. We'll go roll call. Belliston.
Aye.
Ivy.
Aye.
Casperson. Wait for it. And Henderson. It's coming in over text, which I think works. Casperson is an aye. And let's just get Henderson on there too. Three is good enough on this. I know he's on there. It's going to come later. We stand adjourned.